Today, I am blessed enough to be carrying on this series through Genesis for Joe, and the series is entitled "Wrestling with God." Today, we're gonna be studying chapter 27. If you've got a Bible, go ahead and pull it out. I'm proud to be a citizen of Calera. I'm proud to be a citizen of Alabama, a member of Concord. I'm proud to be a citizen of these United States. You know, I think Alabama is one of the greatest places that we could live. What about you? You think that? And it's great to worship in the house of God too, isn't it? A country founded on God. Now, I found something pretty neat as I was studying. I'm going to make a confession to you. I love American history. I love the Civil War history and things like that. And I know it's a confession that means I'm a nerd. Okay, that's okay. That's okay. I have the freedom to tell you that because not all of us are perfect. You know, we have differences. But I read this thing and I wanted to tell you about it. Because it has something to do with our great state of Alabama and our history as a nation as well. In late September 1864, Confederate General Nathan Bedford Forrest was leading his troops north from Decatur, Alabama, toward Nashville. But to make it to Nashville, Forrest would have to defeat the Union Army at Athens, Alabama. When the Union commander, Colonel Wallace Campbell, refused to surrender, Forrest asked for a personal meeting and took Campbell on an inspection of his troops. But each time they left a detachment, the Confederate soldiers simply packed up and moved to another position, artillery and all. Forrest and Campbell would then arrive at the new encampment and continue to tally up the impressive number of Confederate soldiers and weaponry. By the time they returned to the fort, Campbell was convinced he couldn't win and surrendered unconditionally. The victory was a blessing for the Confederate troops, but it was a blessing by fraud. It was based on a deception. And even though it was a victory based on deception. Now, we're going to study a little bit about Jacob and Esau. And I know you've heard that story in Sunday school a million times about Jacob and Esau. But we're going to look at it a little bit deeper than what we normally would. And we're going to discover that there's a lot of truths, a lot of things that we can take out of this story and apply to our lives. There's a lot of good information in here, stuff that you might not even think about. But I'm excited. And I was also thinking, you know, being that we're not all perfect, sometimes we have a tendency to put our best foot forward, right? We want people to think that we're perfect, but we're not all perfect. You know, we got our shortcomings, you know, some of us more than others. But there are things that are not always perfect. They're not always perfect. And even though we try, you believe that? I've seen you on Facebook. I know you don't put the bad pictures on there. You don't put the pictures on there where you just got up and your hair is up like this and you know, drool out your mouth. But you put on the best pictures, right? When me and my wife were dating very early on, we'd gone to a 4th of July party, and I was taking pictures. She wanted to see my camera, and I handed her my camera, and the next thing I know, she had deleted most of the pictures. I went, "Where are my pictures?" She said, "I didn't like those. I didn't look good in those pictures." I said, "You look good in all of them," but it didn't make any difference to her. She wanted only the best pictures to be seen. And we have a tendency to put our best foot forward. And I can think of things coming to church, right? You're going to put on that best foot, right? Put that best foot forward when you come to church or when the preacher comes over to the house, right? So I was thinking about it. We have children. And sometimes getting children up on Sunday mornings and getting them ready for church is a huge challenge. And one of them can't find his shoes, the other one can't find his toothbrush. You get one of them up and you get them in the shower and everything, and it's 5 minutes before it's time to leave, and you go back in there and he's back in the bed asleep and he don't even have his clothes on. And then we're walking, you dragging the kids out of the house and you get them into the car and you're driving to church and mom's over there. She's putting on her makeup and she's complaining because you're hitting every pothole that's in the road. But it's really difficult when you're trying to strangle the kids that are fighting in the back seat. But as soon as you pull up at church, it's like, God bless you, God bless you. All is well with my soul. You put on that face, and under your breath you're going, when you get home, I'm going to kill you. Has anybody out there had that kind of day? Okay, all right, so Ken has it, but we're not all perfect. There's some things that are wrong, okay? I'll admit, we are a church of imperfect people, and I'm so glad because I could never measure up to some of you guys. I'm telling you, it is wonderful to have that freedom to say that. But here, we like to think of our Bible heroes as perfect too, right? Because, these are strong heroes, masters of the faith, and we like to think that they're all perfect. But they're not perfect either. If you've got your Bible, make sure you got it on Genesis 27. If there's not a Bible in your hand, you can reach under your seat or somewhere near you and pick up one of the white ones. And it is a free gift. You may take it with you. We will not tackle you in the parking lot. Now, the big idea in this story is that we got to come to grips with the fact that no matter how noble or well-intended, the will of our heart's desires comes in second to God's will. There's no playing favorites or shortcuts. I'm going to give you a little background on this family of Isaac, okay? Isaac and Rebekah have no children. In Genesis 25, 21 through 28, it says, "And Isaac prayed to the Lord for his wife because she was barren. And the Lord granted his prayer, and Rebekah, his wife, conceived. The children struggled together within her. And she said, 'If it is thus, why is it happening to me?' So she went to inquire of the Lord, and the Lord said to her," now pay attention to this, "2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples from within you shall be divided. The one shall be stronger than the other. The older shall serve the younger." When her days to give birth were completed, behold, there were twins in her womb, and the first came out red, all his body like a hairy cloak. So they called his name Esau. Afterward, his brother came out with his hand holding Esau's heel. So his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. When the boys grew up, Esau was a skillful hunter, a man of the field, while Jacob was a quiet man, dwelling in tents. Isaac loved Esau because he ate of his game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Okay, and it's very important that we see this. There are two players here, or 2 sides actually. We've got 4 people, and they're divided in 2 sides. Esau was Isaac's favorite son, and he was hairy. I mean, he was a hunter. If he were here today, he would have a jacked up 4-wheel drive with some deer antlers in the back. Okay? That's him. He was very skilled as a hunter, and that's what he did well with. Now, Esau, Jacob was a little bit different, okay? He was kind of it says he was a tent dweller. In other words, he kind of wanted to stay at home with mom. He was happy just hanging out, playing PlayStation and stuff like that. Okay, he is totally different, and these guys didn't hang out together. They didn't hang out together. Now, we're going to start reading with verse 1 of chapter 27. It's a lot of text. We're going to try and go through it quickly. When Isaac was old and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called Esau his older son and said to him, "My son." And he answered, "Here I am." He said, "Behold, I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now then, take your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me. And prepare me some delicious food such as I love, and bring it to me so that I may eat, that my soul may bless you before I die." Now keep in mind that Isaac was 60 years old when the boys were born. Okay, Isaac now is around 137 years old. Okay, that's pretty old. You would think that, yeah, my last days are there. See, Isaac's brother Ishmael was 137 years old when he died. So it's natural if you've got an older brother or a father or somebody that passed away when they were, say, 70. Once you hit 70, you start really thinking about your mortality. Okay, so here's Isaac, and he's old and he's blind, and he wants to pass on this blessing because he thinks he's at the end of his life. And so he tells Esau, he said, "Go out and kill me some game and come and prepare it like you always did." Now this is kind of difficult to understand, because normally when a father passes on the blessings in this day, it was customary for them to have a whole family gathering, okay? And it's just like passing on the last will and testament. So there would normally be a big celebration and a meal, and he would pass down, he would tell of the blessing and the inheritance of each of his children. And it's customary for one who has the birthright to receive the larger portion of the estate. But we remember back in Sunday school that Esau sold his birthright, right? Esau sold his birthright to Jacob for a cup of soup, for a bowl of stew. That kind of shows you that there was a disregard in Esau's heart for the birthright. He thought it nothing more than, it wasn't doing him any good at the time, so he might as well just not even have it. Okay? So we got to think about that. Now, the fact that Isaac was 137 years old, and he was 60 years old when the boys were born, these boys were not young. They should be around 77 years old, all right? So we're not dealing with kids here. We're dealing with older people. What they're still doing at home, I don't know. I hope that don't happen at our house. No, he was ready to pass on this blessing. Now, he was doing it in private. It was sneaky. It was kind of deceptive, right? Because he was like, "Come over here, son. Go out there and take care. When you get back and I'm full, we'll go ahead and take care of the business." But not everything happens the way we plan it. In verse 2, well, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to back up. What was the blessing? In Genesis chapter 26, it says, "And the Lord appeared to him and said, 'Do not go down to Egypt. Dwell in the land of which I shall tell you. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with you, and I will bless you. For to you and your offspring I will give all these lands, and I will establish the oath that I swore to Abraham your father. I will multiply your offspring as the stars of heaven, and I will give your offspring all of these lands, and in your offspring all the nations of the earth shall be blessed.'" Now that was God talking to Isaac. That was the blessing that God had passed on to Isaac. That was also the blessing and the promise that God had given Isaac's father, Abraham. So it was natural for it to be passed on to the next son. But he wasn't thinking about what God told his wife, Rebekah, that the younger son would be the one served by the older. He wasn't thinking about that the blessing had been promised or had been foretold by God to be passed to Jacob. He wanted to give it to his favorite son. He was trying to circumvent the plan that God had. Okay? Now look, tent walls and things were pretty thin back then. Okay? And just like any other woman in her house, she's going to know what's going on. She's probably going to hear what's happening. Okay? You ever wondered how your wife or your mom knew something that you didn't? I mean, they just got this extra sense. But Rebekah was listening when Isaac was telling Esau this, okay? That's not good. Because not only was it he was hiding it from his wife, not only was he trying to circumvent the plans of God, but he was also deceiving his wife. Let's read on in verse 5. Now Rebekah was listening when Isaac spoke to his son Esau. So when Esau went to the field to hunt for game and bring it, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, I heard your father speak to your brother Esau. Bring me game and prepare for me delicious food that I may eat it and bless you before the Lord before I die. Now, therefore, my son, obey my voice as I command you. Go to the flock and bring me 2 good young goats so that I may prepare from them delicious food for your father, such as he loves. And you shall bring it to your father to eat so that he may bless you before he dies. But Jacob said to his mother, Behold, my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. Perhaps my father will feel me, and I shall seem to be mocking him and bring a curse on myself and not a blessing. His mother said to him, Let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice and go bring them to me. Now that sounds kind of vindictive, doesn't it? That sounds like a woman who is bent on getting her way. That sounds like a woman who is not really thinking about the implication that morally she's doing something wrong. She's not thinking about that. Maybe she's overcome with a little bit of madness. Well, if he's going to do that, I'm going to fix his little wagon. You ever seen a woman do that? Can a woman do that? I don't know if that's the case in this, but I know that it can happen. All right? She wants to get her will. Her son Jacob, not only was he supposed to receive it from God, but she's going to make sure that happens. Okay? So we see that. We also see Jacob not worried about the moral implication that he is doing something wrong. He is deceiving his father. He's also, what's he worried about? If he finds out, he's going to curse me. It's not my Father in heaven is going to be upset with me. Okay, well, do we ever do that? Sometimes we do, don't we? We kind of look at the earthly consequences of our actions, but maybe we might not look at the spiritual consequences. So Jacob's not really worried about that either. Now also, being a kid of 70-something years old, you would think he would have a little guts to say, Mom, that ain't right. Mom, what are you thinking? I'm 70 years old. But she says to obey me, and he does. Now, on we go in the Scriptures. 14. So he went and took them and brought them to his mother. And his mother prepared delicious food such as his father loved. Then Rebekah took the best garments of Esau, her older son, which were with her in the house. And she put them on Jacob, her younger son, and the skins of the young goats she put on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. And she put the delicious food and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Jacob. So he went to his father and said, My father. And he said, Here I am. Who are you, my son? And Jacob said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Now sit up and eat of my game, that your soul may bless me. But Isaac said to his son, How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son? And he answered, Because the Lord your God granted me success. Then Isaac said to Jacob, Please come near that I may feel you, my son, to know whether you really are my son Esau or not. So Jacob went near to Isaac his father, who felt him and said, the voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. Man, that Esau must have been a hairy dude to be compared to a goat. He's like a regular Sasquatch or something. Sorry. And he did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. He said, are you really my son Esau? He answered, I am. Then he said, bring it near to me that I may eat of my son's game and bless you. So he brought it near to him. And he ate. And he brought him wine and he drank. Okay, so we're seeing this story play out, right? It's like something you would see on TV. It's like deceit everywhere. All right, and Jacob is dressed up in these goat skins on his hands and arms and on the back of his neck, and he's in there and he's trying to persuade his father, and he tells him, yes, it is me, I am Esau. And his father says, well, you don't sound like Esau. And he says, I am. And he touches him and he feels the hairiness of him, and he's starting to think, well, this might be Esau. Let me eat of the game. He loved the way that he made him the venison. So he ate the venison, and now he's starting to relax. Yeah, that's him. He made it just like I like it. That's got to be him. So the thing is that here's this old blind man lying there, the father of these two sons, the husband of Rebekah, and they're taking full advantage of him. I think there's something somewhere in the Bible that says don't do that. I'm pretty sure that taking advantage of a blind man, and he's being played by his family, and Isaac brings Jacob closer, and he feels it, and he's starting to think, this is Esau. Yeah, he makes food like Esau. He's hairy like Esau. It's probably Esau. And then he says in verse 26, Isaac said to him, come near and kiss me, my son. So he came near and kissed him. And Isaac smelled the smell of his garments and blessed him and said, see, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. He smelled the smell of the field, and that sealed the deal. Not only does it smell like not only does the food taste like Esau's food, he's hairy like Esau, but it smells like him too. Must be Esau. That sealed the deal. Isaac was satisfied that it was Esau. And so he gives him a blessing. Verse 28, read what it says. May God give you the dew of the heaven and of the fatness of the earth and plenty of grain and wine. Let people serve you and nations bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers. And may your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you. Sounds a lot like the blessing that was given to Abraham a few chapters earlier. And in verse 30, as soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, when Jacob had scarcely gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, here's where the good stuff starts happening. Esau, his brother, came in from his hunting. He also prepared delicious food and brought it to his father. And he said to his father, let my father arise and eat out of his son's game, that you may bless me. And his father Isaac said to him, who are you? He answered, I am your son, your firstborn, Esau. Then Isaac trembled very violently and said, who was it then that hunted game and brought it to me? And I ate it all before you came, and I have blessed him. Yes, and he shall be blessed. As soon as Esau heard the words of his father, he cried out with an exceedingly great and bitter cry and said to his father, bless me, even me also, O father. But he said, your brother came deceitfully, and he has taken away your blessing. And Esau said, Is he not rightly named Jacob? For he has cheated me these 2 times. He took away my birthright. And behold, now he has taken away my blessing. Then he says, have you not reserved a blessing for me? Can you imagine it? Talk about close calls. Jacob barely gets out of there when Esau comes in, and it's like the scene is playing over. And then all of a sudden, it dawns on Isaac, what have I done? What have I done? I've blessed the wrong man. But then he realizes, and he starts to shudder because he realizes that he was trying to circumvent the plan of the Lord and provide the blessing to the wrong person. But it didn't work. He's been deceived. But have you ever realized your sin so badly that you just shake, that you lose control of your physical presence and do things? You start to shake violently. Have you ever been convicted of your sin and known that you've done something wrong and it troubled you so badly that maybe you even lost your breath? And what's Esau saying? I want some blessing. Where did it go? Why did you do that? How could you give away the blessing? Jacob is the one who stole it, just like he stole my birthright. But we know that's not the case, is it? We know because we just read that he sold his birthright. He traded it for a cup of soup, a cup of stew. Man, sometimes we have a tendency to, as we're putting our best foot forward, as we're trying to deceive people and thinking we're perfect or we're something that we're not, sometimes we have a tendency to blame other people. I know because I did it once. This is not the thing to do in this situation. But we do. We start feeling like it's not our fault. It's so easy to put the blame on another person, isn't it? But listen, verse 37, let's hear what you might call an anti-blessing that comes from Isaac to Esau. Isaac answered and said to Esau, behold, I have made him lord over you, and all his brothers I have given to him for servants, and with grain and wine I have sustained him. What then can I do for you, my son? Esau said to his father, have you but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. Then Isaac his father answered and said to him, behold, away from the fatness of earth shall your dwelling be, and away from the dew of heaven on high. By your sword you shall live, and you shall serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you shall break his yoke from your neck. Not only are we seeing the results here of Esau's disdain for the birthright and the blessing, but we're going to see in the next few verses the immediate consequences, the earthly consequences of the sins of this family. Verse 41. Now Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father had blessed him. And Esau said to himself, the days of mourning for my father are approaching. Then I will kill my brother Jacob. But the words of Esau, her older son, were told to Rebekah. So she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said to him, behold, your brother Esau comforts himself about you by planning to kill you. Now, therefore, my son, obey my voice. Arise, flee to Laban, my brother in Haran, and stay with him a while until your brother's fury turns away, until your brother's anger turns away from you, and he forgets what you have done to him. Then I will send and bring you from there. Why should I be bereft of you both in one day? And in verse 46, then Rebekah said to Isaac, I loathe my life because of the Hittite women. If Jacob marries one of the Hittite women like these, one of the women of the land, what good will my life be to me? So you see what happens next is Jacob has to leave the land of his family where he has lived for some 70-something years. He has to leave his mother, who loves him dearly. His mother is left there with Isaac, an old man whose health seemed to be failing. Isaac lived another 40 years. Isaac lived another 40 years, blind. Esau has nothing. But we see in this, God's plan all along was never thwarted. It was always to bless the world through Jacob. And we see that after we read the rest of the story, that he blesses the world through Jacob by sending a Messiah, Jesus Christ, as one of the descendants. He fulfilled his prophecy. What are we to learn from this story? What are the implications from this story for our life, other than don't dress up like your brother? What are we going to learn from this story? There are certainly implications in this story that we can take with us, because this right here is the Word of God. In this Bible, it says that God breathed these scriptures. In the Bible, we see instances of other instances where God has breathed. Do we not? In Genesis, God made Adam, and then he breathed life into Adam. In Ezekiel, there was a whole army of bones. God breathed life, and they became a living army. Through this word right here, there is life. There is so much life. God has breathed his life into these scriptures. What can we take? Surely there's something that we can take from this. Number one, I'm going to tell you that God's will is never dependent upon us. God's will is never dependent upon us. Whatever he has designed is going to happen. And we can play along. It's our privilege to be a part of God's will. It is a privilege. It's an honor to be a part of this great plan. But it's not dependent upon us. Okay, we can screw up, and we do. I do. I am one of the worst at screwing up, and they will vouch for you there. But it's not, God's will is not dependent upon me. He wants to use me to bring about his plan. He wants to use you to bring about his plan. But we do not have to carry that weight on our shoulders. It is not dependent upon us. Sometimes we mess up just because we're human, and we don't know. God still uses us. God's plan is still going to come to fruition, even when we do something bad and we think that there's nothing that can be done. God's grace and mercy is there. As we read on further in the story, we know further on in the Bible that one significant event happens that changes everything for us. The Bible says that God sent his Son to die on the cross for our sins. And as he was there, he said, "It is finished." He had taken care of all of our sins. All of our sins. It's a wonderful thing. What does this story tell us? What can we learn? What can we bring from this story? We don't have to earn God's favor. We do not have to put on the fakeness and try and put our best foot forward to deceive our Father. A lot of us have earthly fathers who we felt like we could not live up to their standards. A lot of us have relationships with people that we just cannot feel complete in. But we can, knowing that we do not have to earn the favor of our Father. He died for us so that we can come just the way we are, imperfect. And He was faithful and just to forgive us and offer us the free gift of eternal life. There's nothing that we can do to make Him love us any more than He already does. That's good. That is good. You can rejoice, church, in that. We do not have to earn the favor of our fathers. We do not have to put on the facade. We do not have to try and earn the blessing, because the blessing is offered to each one of us. It's forgiveness. It's eternal life. It's a place in the kingdom of God with Jesus Himself. That's good news, because there is no way we could ever earn it ourselves. We do not have to pretend to be something that we're not. Look, God's favor is not dependent upon our actions, but our actions should reflect the favor that God has given to us. I'm so glad that I have had this forgiveness, because my life has not always been pleasing. And there are times in our lives that we're going to fail, and fail miserably. And we're going to put ourselves in front of God. And it might be that today you are doing the same thing. You are putting your wants and your desires in front of God's will and God's plan. He wants to be first. He wants to use us in His plan. We do not have to earn the favor, but our actions should reflect the love that He sends down to us. Deceit is not good. Deceit is a bad thing, and we see in this family, the deceit was owned by everyone. But I tell you what that means for us is that we have freedom to live in a wonderful relationship with the Father, with the Creator of this world. We have the freedom to come before Him and say, Father, I have sinned. Please forgive me. We have the freedom to worship in this house and raise our hands without fear of being judged, because anybody else's judgment doesn't matter. If we raise our hands to God, He's going to see it, and He's going to know that we are His. We have the freedom to love each other unconditionally, just as Christ loved us. We have the freedom to worship and to tell other people about His amazing love. We have the ability to do that. It is an amazing thing. Because unlike Jacob and Isaac and Esau, when our Father looks at us who have called on the name of the Lord, He will see the righteousness of Jesus. He's not going to see these fake people that we are. It's a blessing, and it can be yours. If you have not accepted Christ, Cole, as you and the worship team come on up here, there's no better time than this morning. There's no better time than right now to claim this blessing that God has offered to you. I can see no better time than right now. We can't screw up God's plan. He wants us to be a part. He wants to give us that free gift of eternal life. He wants us to have the freedom to worship and love and care and be a church and be a people united for Him.